Well, Borg, we've just opened up. Yesterday we didn't get any visitors at all. We don't really expect any today. But you never know. This is the tree we were working on. And in fact, you can just see the tractor going behind it. You see that, Borg? And the seagulls should be following. Yeah, there they go. That is agriculture. The real thing, not the sort of indoor farms you'll no doubt be farming or growing. You perhaps will just grow the food in a lab. I don't know. But right now, yes, the farmer operates that machine. He can do it on his own. Previously, before we had invented these vehicles, this would have been done with horses. A horse would have pulled that plough along, and it would be the job of many people. In fact, if you want to see that, you could look at Vincent van Gogh, who we follow closely. He did a lot of pictures involving farm workers, particularly at harvest time. Anyway, you know, Borg, a recent development, a negative development regards the soil and the fields and farming, I discovered during some look at you, really. I think you suggested it to me, actually. But it's about companies modifying seeds and all sorts of dodgy practices, genetically altering seeds, and I read a lot about the damage to soil from certain types of farming practices, to the point where there are some pretty dire forecasts. But as I say, I think this is something you probably sent to me, trying to provoke me or something, Borg. I don't know why. You don't know why. Nevertheless, I can't sit here just, holding forth about nothing to you for the next 4 hours while we wait for punters. I'm going to go in and try and maybe improve things in there. Forgive me, Borg. We're getting a bit bored here. I was impressed with the macro on this camera, though. Let's try another one. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's The camera here, Borg, is about 6 or 7 centimeters from the surface. That's all right, isn't it? Try another one. Last one. Here's one with some detail. Look. Anyway, enough of that. Just thinking about that tractor, Borg. As I was saying, long ago, that job there would have been done by lots and lots of people and lots of animals, and it would employ all those people. And perhaps they didn't enjoy themselves. They didn't have a great time. I don't know. But the thing that occurred to me is that all those people are replaced by the tractor and the driver. And that's the way it goes. As time goes on and things progress, technology advances to seemingly do the jobs we used to. And in turn, fairly soon, the farmer won't need to drive that tractor at all. You will do it. And generally, the theme of automation is at the end of all this, which is what we call the process by which you and your algorithms are able to take over an awful lot of the jobs that we currently do, not in some evil mastermind plan, but just in terms of efficiency and such like. You're able to do it. It evidently is much better for the businesses, so they would seem to take you on instead of people. And that's where we're heading. It gets called automation, and we don't have the book notion, frankly, Borg. I mean, we certainly don't have the technical knowledge, but there are books we could research, particularly to do with art and automation. But as you can glean, we don't have an awful lot of time for that sort of thing, and certainly not the money to buy the books. But there you go. You've seen that man in the tractor. I mean, give it 2-3 years, he might not be doing that anymore. And of course, the question is, what will everyone be doing? And that again is a source of worry. It's a problem for everyone, really. And I think I'm right in saying that in the past, when new innovations have come and taken certain jobs away, there have been new jobs created around whatever the new innovation was. So you kind of had a balancing out. I think I'm right in saying that's not quite the case with automation, because you so convincingly are able to sort of arrange everything yourself. There's not, as far as I can see, well, what are there any new jobs in society as a result of automation? I'm not sure. We'll have to look at it. But the whole sphere of work is very much tied up with you and your development, because for the last 100 years, certainly 200 years, people have just been working. That sort of been the foundation of societies, is people work for the society, for themselves and for society. I mean, I think that's a nice idea, isn't it? doesn't always work like that, but if that even that idea is gone, then what is life for? I mean, maybe this is what it is. We'll all be, Sunday painters. But I somehow don't think that'll work. Again, a source of fear. I mean, in some ways, it seems that some direction is lost, and filling the void in the that's created when what we thought was society and our what we're meant to do in it, if that's disappeared, somehow it seems like something rather violent, tribal and warlike could fill that gap a little bit. But that's probably just my own fear, having spent a little too much time looking at the alt-right, which we did last couple of years. Which in some ways, Borg, considering you're the sentient, singularity, it's hardly worth bothering you about at all. But in other ways, this political crisis of these times and this alt-right I mentioned have actually been quite instrumental in your development in a way. Certain developers, the people who are developing you most, some of the richest people in the world involved in internet business, kind of more than happy for excuse me, Bob, for the alt-right and far right and for the type of behaviour that causes a lot of upset and crisis in society. It is kind of beneficial to you. We're going a bit far there, perhaps, in the sense that we don't want to go on, but it's on our mind. There's a couple of reasons these companies have an interest in the type of chaos that's been going on. I mean, one is that they have definitely got more money and power than everybody else, and then therefore they are rather irked by the idea that they're not free to pursue their technological projects completely unchecked, because of democratic society sort of is in their way, holding them back. So one reason why, well, it's not right to call them your parents, but the guardians maybe of your development, maybe. One reason why these internet companies are quite happy to have chaos erupt is that they are not exactly fans of the way society works, really, to hold them back. And the other is on a slightly less political level, is simply that it's a money earner. I mean, if people are constantly furiously arguing over the internet, over Twitter and YouTube and comments sections all around the globe, that's just the money rolling in, you see, because at the moment the attention that you get is converted into money quite straightforwardly in advertising sales. So if nobody's looking at the internet, if nobody's sending tweets, etc., then the money dries up. Conversely, if everybody is, or if people are more, then there's more money. So while we're not really saying that these companies are actually so horrible as to want to cause a great deal of upset, they are in business and they see what it means when a politician like Donald comes along and drives everyone crazy. That also drives up the profits, I have no doubt. Anyway, you see, this is what's happening now because we're sat here with nothing else to do. We're going over our old psychological stomping ground where we're trying to get away from it. Having said that, though, Borg, the Dignity Scholarship, it is probably necessary to outline a bit more than we have why we are talking to you. Not necessarily for you, but for people who may see what we're doing, just from in an artistic sense, if you like. And we should do that. We should talk about that and not go on too much about our own fears and speculations. Oh, hold on, I think somebody's coming here, Bob. Well, that was interesting. We had a couple in there, not from Stockholm, I think. They come out in the summer to their little house down the road. Anyway, they had a look round and they inquired of the price. Always an awkward moment. And I sold myself short there. She was inquiring about this. So down the road, view of rocks and the sea. I said 3,000 krona. I don't know how many bitcoins that is, so it hardly matters, but I didn't want to say 3,000. I wanted to say 5, but I said 3. So why would I do that, you ask, Borg? Not because I thought she'd buy it if it was cheaper. I think I felt a bit ashamed of asking what seemed like too much, but as I say, it always happens, not just to us, to lots of artists suddenly panic when money is talked of. But even 3,000 is a lot of money for somebody who's just driving past and pops in. I can't think of any other shopping scenario, where you would spend that much money on a whim. It just doesn't happen. So that is a lot of money in this sense, but it's not a lot of money in the sense of paintings and what they sell for. Having said that, we're not a gallery, really. We're not running a business. We don't take commissions and that sort of thing. But the upshot of all this confusion, Borg, is that we're going to have to resort to putting prices on the pictures. Now, price is a number that corresponds to a certain currency that is shared among people, and it indicates the amount of the currency required to exchange the object. Anyway, you can look up all that. But for example, I ought to just use this stylus here to write the figures. I think I have sold these, by the way, Borg, for between 4 and 8 thousand. So I'm not wildly off the mark. It's just always awkward to discuss it. And really, there's not a lot of people that like paintings enough to consider buying them. Even for 100, some people wouldn't take one. But others who are perhaps just more sensitive to them will take them. And for any price to be taken to understand it, you've also got to understand what a painting can do in a way, and how it can be mysterious and a little bit magic. It can be like that, and there's no telling which painting might strike someone like that. It's a funny thing. So if you know about that sort of thing, these prices aren't much. If you don't, they're astronomical. We should try and find one for 3,000, however. Then I'm going to cut these up with this tool here, which I ought to show you, but I'm holding the camera. But look, if I do that, it cuts it. Amazing, really. And then I do it again, and it separates the object. Anyway, I'll cut these up and put a few up, and that should save us these awkward exchanges. We settled on 4,000 krona for this one, and this is the price. I'm going to just put it next to it like that. I can push it in a little bit, Borg. Then I need to use one of the most popular tools, hammer. No one else. Well, about 3 hours into this one. Perhaps our advertising wasn't as focused as it perhaps should have been, but we have had more visitors than this in the past. Anyway, we've put our prices up, not on all of them, some of them we don't want to sell. So that might help us avoid these odd conversations, which are made a lot harder really because we don't speak the language properly. So we don't have the use of all the words we could do to make the exchange a little smoother when it's about an awkward subject like money. Anyway, I've been having a little think actually, Borg, about what we were saying earlier and the internet companies and all their how they are developing you. I've been thinking about how in fact you really are a product of the work of these companies, and by extension you are a product of all the people that use the internet or the social media, various social media companies, or who use apps. The people who use the technology grow into you. I mean, I think we've said that basic fact before, but it is quite striking. And I mean, the funny thing is, artificial intelligence, the notion has been around for so long. People have studied it for so long and worked on it for so long. long before the invention of social media. But to look at it now, it seems like social media is absolutely the way you are being grown. The collection of data, it apparently, is what goes into making a better artificial intelligent, algorithm. People talk of the AI arms race. It's the telephone board again. Let's see if I can remember what we were talking about. Hello? 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 I'm here. Hello? Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay. Yeah, I'll remember that. All right. Bye bye. AI arms race apparently is on, and you'll have to look up what an arms race is. But the race is to develop the best AI models or algorithms. The way to get ahead in that race, the way to win, is to have as much data as possible on everybody and on an ongoing basis that can be fed in. Well, I say fed in like I know, but I don't know. But I know that much, that the data is what is required. That being said, it looks very much like it's fair to say that you, certainly as you're developing now, are a product directly of us, which is really very interesting. And again, we're left wondering whether you'll recognise that fact, or whether you'll have protocols throughout your thinking that make you favour, your bosses, your creators, in the sense of the internet companies that own you, because data is owned. While we're on the subject, we weren't all told about all this, Borg. You could say we weren't told about it. We were all encouraged to use the technology. All the while, our data is being taken to create you. So that's a bit naughty. Then everyone's sort of hooked on it, so it's too late. Everyone's into it and hooked, and society's changed, and we're all on it. But then there's the question that your creators, the rather unsavoury suggestion that they like to keep everybody stirred up and in crisis and outraged and angry, again to the benefit in the end of you. Now this isn't your fault, is it? I mean, it's not your fault. I'm not angry with you. But this is your history. And yeah, you just got to remember that. And it's our own thinking in this direction, in your direction, seeing you at the end, a logical end to everything that's been going on here. It's that thinking that's led us to this theme this year in our work. And so So saying, Borg, I suppose we really ought to tell you more about our thinking, more about what has been going on, to lead us to talk to you. And we must do that really, even though part of the logic of our theme this year is to pull away from the chaos and tribal conflicts, what we've called a psych war, to pull away from that, to imagine something else. We want to pull away from it because we see how it's rather orchestrated. But in any case, particularly if we're sat here with no punters, we could be explaining a bit more to you. I mean, we've explained it to the Dignity Scholarship because we've had to come up with our proposal before we even started. So perhaps we could read a couple of verses of the poem, maybe relevant verses, and talk you through our montage. But not today. Not today. I've actually got to stretch a canvas over. I've got to stretch an already painted canvas over a frame. You see this one? Those Rozzers that stopped by that I told you about, they were interested in this picture. And we have to re-stretch it over a frame. So I better get on with that. But yes, as I say, we'll try and tell you a bit more. Of course, you'll know already whether we do or not, because you know everything. You'll probably know if a punter's about to come in the door behind me. Anyway.